on? I want to welcome you from half court for today, September 26, 2022. But most importantly, Jeff, it's the beginning of the 2022-2023 season. It is media day. Guys are reporting to training camp. Basketball's going to be played like later this week. Dude, NBA basketball's back, man. And
It's
I'm
back.
joined by my guy, as usual, to talk all about it. My guy, Jeff Iafrady, my man. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I'm excited. Plenty of content. It's going to be arising, and we get to finally watch Pistons basketball because we can spend all the summer talking about it. But now, instead of talking about it, we're going to watch it and then talk about what we're watching. So I can't wait, man. It's going to be great.
About damn time. We actually get to see what these guys did this summer, how it translates to the court, how this team is actually going to stack up against the rest of the league. It's just going to be fun to watch, man. I'm just unbelievably excited. And obviously with the trade that we made this last week as well, now there's a little bit more to talk about. And that's what I want to do in today's video. Since when this comes out, it will be about an hour and a half from when media day actually begins. Let's have a season preview, Jeff. Let's take everything that we've talked about this past summer. Let's do a little bit of let's wrap a bow on it. Let's do a little bit of a review and let's set ourselves up for what's coming up in the future. Does that sound good?
I'm cool with that.
There's so much that's happened. And I think it's fair to take some time and to dive into that. One thing I do want to get out of the way before we get into that, I know one thing that has been on the topic of mind and has been like an elephant in the room for the Pistons has been Kemba Walker. But actually, right before we started this video earlier, according to Shams Charania and confirmed James Edwards III, that Kemba Walker will likely be away from the team as training camp opens this week. So Detroit will need to waive or trade the player by October 17th to be at the league limit. So more than likely, what we're picturing is that Kemba Walker will be the person that will be waived from the team. But with that, now that that's out of the way, Jeff, what are you most excited for heading into media day? And what storylines are you personally keeping an eye on going into this season?
I'll start with the obvious one, and that's Cade Cunningham to see, because we talked about this before too. Could he have an all-star season? A lot of that has to do with team success. But my storyline for Cade this season is going to be watching how close he is to making an all-star team. I think that's going to be the number one thing for me. But another storyline that I think is more, on the low key, but something that a lot of people are going to be paying attention to, especially locally, is how Isaiah Livers makes his way in this rotation. Because it's a guy that a lot of people would even advocate to start, and I wouldn't be opposed to that. But we have to see it first. And I think it's a big season for him to go out and prove not only what he can do offensively, but defensively. So Isaiah Livers is going to be the one I'm watching. Isaiah Stewart's another guy that you can watch. Is he going to secure his spot in the starting lineup, and for how long? Do you see Jalen Duren in him? Do you see Bagley in Isaiah Stewart? So really those two, but besides that, it's got to be Cade Cunningham. I mean, how far he's progressed, because listen, how he ended his rookie year, how fantastic it was. The best thing is now to have the offseason, to see him working at getting stronger, adding 10, 15 pounds of muscle. And now you get to see it on the court in his second year when you saw how slow Cade's game is. Like now things are going to be even slower for him and things are going to be easier to process. So I'm very excited for Cade. That's probably the number one thing that most Pistons fans would agree with me on.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a guy that we feel like is a legitimate franchise player in this city. And now it's a matter of seeing if that's legit. It's a matter of him going out, expanding on what he did this past season, building on the foundations of what appears to be a franchise caliber player in this league. And it's going into this year saying, what can he do? What steps has he taken? And what roster does he have around him going forward? Because as you said, Jeff, and as we've talked about before on this channel, this team only goes as far as Cade Cunningham will eventually take them. And, for him in particular, a guy who just turned 21 years old this past weekend, for him to be as skilled as he is, to add as much muscle as he did this offseason, adding 15 pounds of muscle, I just think there's a lot of reasons to be excited about what Cade could potentially do this season. But also, I think the thing that's going to help him a ton, and I think an aspect of that was, I think you saw the Pistons take a chance of building a better team around Cade and
Right.
giving him more shooters to make his job easier. Bojan Bogdanovic, the player that we added this past week, but also guys like Alec Burks that we added earlier this offseason as well. Cade Cunningham has shooters now. And I feel like that alone is going to make his job easier. But then also you add in the skill areas that he's going to have improved on this summer, the work that he's been putting in, all the stars that he's been working with throughout the offseason. It just seems like it's a recipe for Cade Cunningham to have an all-star caliber season.
And on top of that, you talk about the Troy Weaver going out adding shooting. I think not only Cade but jaden Ivey, the rookie, like those two, together on the court with the shooting they have now is going to make them even more dangerous. And that's probably another
Mm-hmm.
storyline I'm going to be watching is how far along is jaden Ivey? Do you need more time, or does he come out and look like the rookie of the year this year? Like that's probably another storyline because this is a guy that we see as Cade's running mate for the next however many years they play together. So
Yeah.
hopefully his entire career. So that's probably the other guy I'm going to be watching. But you mentioned it, Bojan Bogdanovic. You're adding him, Isaiah Livers, Alec Burks, like guys that can shoot the ball. Sadiq Bey, obviously. So
Yeah.
that's probably going to be the storyline I'm paying attention to most too. Is with the addition of all this shooting, guys building a team around Cade Cunningham, but also jaden Ivey. So him coming out this season, seeing how ready he is, and I'm going to be really excited to see that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you brought it up, Jaden Ivey, but also Jalen Duren, the two
Yep.
rookies that are the latest rookies that Troy Weaver took the dive in and getting this season. Obviously, last year, we only had the one first round pick last year. Just the measly number one overall pick. Now this year we have Jaden Ivey who went in the top 5, and Jalen Duren, who we essentially traded Jeremy Grant's
Right.
the rights to Jeremy Grant for. So going into this season, it's going to be huge for them to establish their presence in the rotation and what they're going to be. And Jeff, I know that there's a lot of mixed opinions on Jaden Ivey's game and how well it's going to translate to the NBA. I mean, we even just had Steve on the podcast this last week, and I think he was, for the first time in a while, we heard someone's perspective who's not as much of a Jaden Ivey believer as maybe say you and I are. But Jeff, I'm of the opinion that the NBA spacing and just the spacing the Pistons have been able to add in general is going to aid Jaden Ivey's game to see a lot of the shortcomings that he had in college. I don't think some of those will be replicated in the NBA because of the fact that he'll be playing with guys who can actually space the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think just the flashes that we saw of his athleticism and the things that he can do in an open court, I just think all the signs point towards this kid being special. And I think this season he has the red carpet to show us exactly why that's the case. Do
Yeah, I
you
mean,
think Jaden Ivey, I want to set it up with this as well. Do you think Jaden Ivey could potentially have a rookie season that's near the caliber of Ja Morant? That's tough
that
because he had one of the better rookie campaigns of the last decade.
he now if he did that, I think we'd all be ecstatic, especially being able to cover this team. It'd be exciting. But for me, like good general managers always build around, especially they know how to build around their franchise players. So if you look at Jaden Ivey and what he does well, it's in transition, his speed, and his playmaking ability, which is very underrated. And they already know what they have in Cade Cunningham, and I think that's why going out and getting a guy like Bojan or having a guy like Sadiq Bey, having a guy like Isaiah Stewart, going trading for Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel, like adding that shooting is going to be, I think, even better for Jaden Ivey this year because it's something he didn't have at Purdue is that spacing. And you mentioned it, the NBA court, now adjusting to the NBA in transition, his speed, he's going to be even more deadlier and have an even more bigger impact that he did at the collegiate level. Now, will it come right away? No.
Yeah.
The hardest part is, too, that Jaden Ivey is going to have to overcome is being able to share with Cade and them two being able to play together. Now, I think it's a great fit because not only do you have two guys that can rotate and both handle the ball, but you have Cade who can play off ball and Jaden who I think can play off ball. We have to see how he is and how his shooting ability
He has
translates.
the
But
skills
overall,
to
I
play
think those
off
guys are
ball.
going to be able to play together.
Yeah, he has the skills, the athleticism to play off ball. I mean, if
Right.
Ivy is proactive while off ball, is receiving screens, which I think he will be. I think
Right.
that's going to be part of this season, is going to be getting him comfortable with that role of playing off ball. But also, I think the other thing too is that you can change it up based on what strategy or like based on like who you're facing. Like there's gonna be times where it will benefit the Pistons more to have Ivy taking the ball up and initiating the offense, to have Cade playing off ball. And
Right.
like
Harder to
the
game
fact
plan
that
for.
yeah, exactly. And like that's or Cade having the ball in his hands more and Ivy, like the fact that the Pistons have that option, but also it's going to enable different play styles and also like some experimentation. I think that's going to be like an underrated storyline this year of
Mhm.
what does this offense look like? What lineups will we see? How often will we see this three guard lineup between Killian, Jaden Ivey, and Cade Cunningham? I'm really interested in that lineup in particular.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the biggest thing for me with Jaden Ivey is his shooting ability, how far he comes along with that. I'm not expecting him to come out and be a 40% three-point shooter. I know he's going to struggle, but how does he develop in that area? Because if you want to play three guards, if you want to play Killian Cade and Jaden Ivey, you can't have two guys out of the three guards that struggle shooting. So that's the
Yeah.
thing I'm really paying attention to. I think Jaden can get there. Certainly has the athleticism. I know his jump shots it's odd looking at it initially, but you saw what he did in the beginning at Purdue last season. I know he shot 40%, then it kind of went downhill from there. It's just about being more consistent. And a lot of those shots at Purdue were off the dribble. We'll see. He's going to get a lot more open looks with Cade Cunningham. He's going to have a lot more just better shots in general. So with Jaden Ivey, I don't have too many concerns about him, but one of the biggest storylines is just seeing how him and Cade, how quickly that's able to gel together. Because if you want to make it to wherever you want to make it, let's say if you think this team can, make an NBA Finals eventually, it's going to start with those two guys and
Yeah.
obviously the others. But if those guys can click early on, it's going to give Pistons fans even more hope for the future.
Yeah. Now, Jeff, you brought it up. It starts there. And the foundation of this team begins with that tandem. But let's be honest. If Jalen Duren is anything like we think he can be, that
Oh,
brings us to a whole different level. And let's talk about him for a second, because I would be remiss to not bring up what, in my opinion, is the biggest X factor of the Pistons rebuild going forward. Because you talk about what Jalen Duren has shown from an athletic standpoint, his intangibles of defending the rim already, how
mm-hmm.
much of a monster he was on the defensive end throughout the tournament and throughout his time in college, his limited time, and now what he did in the summer league and how highly they're talking about Jalen Duren. Let's remind ourselves for a second. I know this is something we talked about a lot, in June or July, but Jeff, the Pistons would have considered taking Duren at 5 if Ivy was off the board. That is how highly they think of this guy. And they got him at 15th.
It's ridiculous. And think about this too. Like for a guy like Jalen Duren, not only is he the youngest player in the class, but physically, like to come in and have a chance to be any team he's drafted to, their defensive anchor with a decently high upside offensively, like that's value. And I could see why Troy loves his athletes. He loves the versatility, he loves the athleticism, and Jalen Duren fits those molds. Now, we'll see how his game develops offensively, and I think there is upside there, but defensively, my God, Sean, like he has an ability to come in pretty quick and make an impact. Like what we were watching Pistons games last year. You saw how many times you check the scoreboard and you see points allowed in the paint. Isaiah
Yeah.
Stewart out there being the undersized center he is, being the guy to have to guard the paint and have to take on guys. Now you have a legitimate 7-footer who has that athleticism, has that versatility, a guy you can run the floor. You saw what Marvin Bagley was able to do when he was traded here. I'm excited for Jalen Duren. I think playing with playmakers like Cade and Jaden Ivey, something he didn't have, at the University of Memphis, I think it's going to be great for his pro career.
Yeah. One quick correction. He went 13th overall to the Charlotte
Yep.
Hornets, to the Charlotte Hornets, and was traded to the Pistons there. So it's 13th, but still incredible value to find that guy towards the end of the lottery. A guy that was really only there because of his age. It wasn't because of his talent. If he was a year older, he was a lock to be a top 10 pick, in my opinion. But I mean, Jeff, like you said, we don't really know what his offensive game is going to be. From what we've seen, even if he's just a lob, like a really good lob threat, that's still value in this league, because if he develops into what we think he can be on the defensive end, man. And then the other X factor of that as well, how does he match up and how does he pair and how does he complement with Isaiah Stewart? Can
Right.
those guys play at the 4 and the 5 at the same time? Is that the tandem of the front court that we're looking at going forward? Because now with Bojan Bogdanovic coming into the fold, that makes Isaiah Stewart's, opportunity at the 4 that much more sparse. I mean, let's be honest. Now, we were talking about this season, we were kind of questioning where Kelly O kind of fit into everything. And the answer was it was a trade piece to go get us Bojan Bogdanovic, at least for now. So, with Detroit having guys like, like Marvin Bagley, Isaiah Livers that are already competing for that spot and for opportunity there, and then throw in Bojan, that's at least 3 players that can play the 4 for this team. So
Mhm.
I'm interested to see if Isaiah Stewart gets any runway at the 4 this season. Do you think having Bojan on the roster changes that at all?
Um, I
Maybe
think
in the short term, right?
yeah, I'm with you there. I think short term, it obviously puts more pressure on guys because I think Bojan could be a guy that could start right away. Like
Oh, yeah.
we talk about Marvin Bagley. I think with the spacing, Bojan and Sadiq Bey both at the wing positions are going to make this team even more deadly. So you're right. I think for Isaiah Stewart, it's not about this year. It's about what he becomes. Like if he shows flashes this year, let's say he shoots 33, 34% from three, and that improves, certainly he has a chance to start. But to expect him to come out this year and to be able to space the floor right away, start at the 4, I don't know if I could see that, but you saw how he ended last season. I think he shot the ball excellently in the last like 15 games, but we'll see how that translates. Summer League, do look good. The form looks good, but I'm kind of tempering my expectations of how quickly Isaiah moves into that 4 spot because
Yeah,
he still has to go show it. Until
for
then,
sure.
Bojan gives him that stability. Like what Bojan is. He's a career 40% 3-point shooter, and he scored 18 a game last year, so he's
Mhm.
more proven.
I think what we agree on is that he'll start at the 5 day one. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
Isaiah
I'm with you
Stewart
there.
will still be the starting 5,
I'm with you
and
there.
so he still brings value to that. And with the moves that have been made over the last couple days and just over this offseason as a whole, I think it's only going to make his job that much easier. I think he has more people that can help him in that regard. So, with that, Jeff, all that being said, there's really one last storyline we got to touch on before media day and before the season starts. Will the Pistons make it to the play-in? Will Detroit make it to the playoffs? Will they be there when that time of the year comes around? Because I'm not going to lie, Jeff, before this past week, I was a little unsure. But now adding Bojan to the fold, it just makes them that much more competitive. I'm not saying it's going to happen,
Right, right.
but what I will say is they're going to be playing meaningful basketball towards the end of the season. Jeff, what's your prediction?
Well, they got better. Let's just get that out of the way. So, us saying that it's a fact, Sean. I mean, adding Bojan to this roster makes them a better team than they were previously. But my predictions, in terms of the play-in, a lot of it, see, and I've said this before, and I'm going to keep saying it. A lot of this depends on you almost have to hit like a player parlay. You almost have to hit like you need Cade to take that step. You need Jaden to have a pretty good rookie year. You need Sadiq Bey to take a step, like Isaiah Stewart to be able to space the floor and he looks good. Like you need so many things that happen. Jalen Duren moves into the lineup. I think for this team to make the play in, that it's hard for me to put my name out there and say yes, they'll make the play in. I think they'll be short of it, but they, like you said, I think you put it perfectly. Competitive basketball. That's what we ask of this team. Now, if they win 35 games, they missed the play-in tournament, are we going to be upset? No, they got 12 wins better than last season,
All
and
right.
guys look better, hopefully, and that's the goal this season is seeing how players progress. So for me, it's not necessarily going to be depend. Now, if they make the play-in, I'll be excited. Obviously, we get to watch Pistons basketball for even longer, but overall, it doesn't change my opinion. I think this season's really figuring out what you have, and I'm going to keep saying
Yeah.
that. So I think more so than the wins, and losses, it's more so do your players look good? Did they take the next step? Because if so, and you have all this money in free agency, you're going to forget about the 30 wins the next year when your team gets even better and you're poised to now make the playoffs. So I'm going to stay on my original prediction. I think they missed the plan, but I think they'll play competitive basketball. I'm right with you.
Yeah, for me, I think they're definitely going to be in the mix. I still wonder if this is going to be the roster that ends the season. There's certainly more
Good point.
moves that can be made. I know guys like Rod Beard alluded to the fact that our starting lineup could potentially look different. And I think this trade we saw this last week was just an example of that. It's that Troy Weaver is actively looking to make this roster better. He's gonna act and make decisions that are in the best interest of the Detroit Pistons. And I think we're gonna at the very least be in that mix. And I think it'll even come down to the final week. I don't think there's gonna be a point where we shut this down this year and go, all right, well, let's see which cruise guys we like. Let's bring them up. I really do believe that they're going to be competing until the end of the season this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the thing to watch this season is, like you said, and what Rod Beard also, was tweeting about, and that's does Troy Weaver move guys? And what I mean by that is you have Nerlens Noel expiring contract, you have a Bojan expiring contract, you have Alec Burks. Like these guys can be moved, and if a contender calls Troy Weaver, is not afraid to make deals, and you can get assets for these guys. I can see a move happening as well. So in the team, from that standpoint, you lose guys that are a significant part of your rotation. So again, like I said, it's not necessarily based on the wins and losses, but this team has to be competitive. I think if they end the season like they did last season, around 500, they're playing good basketball, guys are getting better. I think we can all take that as a win.
Yeah, for sure. But with that, what do you think? Let us know in the comment section down below. Do you think the Pistons will make the play-in this year? And what are your expectations for the team going into this season? Let us know in the comment section down below. But also, let us know what personal storylines you are looking for and what things you're excited about out of this media day and going into the season. But with that, you're going to want to make sure going into media day and going into this season that you're hitting that subscribe button, because this is going to be the place that you're going to want to be, not just for Pistons content and analysis, as Jeff and I both cover the Pistons for Woodward Sports, but also for NBA analysis, all things throughout the league, because this is what we do here at From Half Court. You're also going to want to make sure you're following my guy, Jeff Iafrady, over at Jeff Iafrady on Twitter, and catching him Monday through Friday on the Morning Woodward Show, baby, because he is a beautiful boy up there doing that each and every morning. My guy, killing it.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely love to see it. But also, if you're feeling charitable, you can go and follow your boy at Sean Halfcourt on Twitter as well. And maybe even keep tuning in, because you might see me each and every week talking all things basketball in there with my boy Jeff. It's going to be fun. Ooh, wait!
Cooking some
Season's
things up
here, baby. It's going to be great. But with that, folks, we want to thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time from Half Court. Be sure to subscribe.